Professor Mahbubani, some interesting insights there. I want to get to your perspective from Asia, sitting in Singapore. Asia, of course, has been a very dynamic pole of growth in the last 30 years, including ASEAN, where you're located. And we are seeing, in some ways, two arguments on multipolarity. One is what Ministers Pandor and Amorim just laid out, which is a world of different power centers, of more shared leadership, looking at the most vulnerable. But there are also some arguments about multipolarity in regions. So a multipolar Asia, for example, or a multipolar Middle East, and so forth. So I want to get at two answers from you. One is, how do you see the rise of these regions, Asia, Africa, and Latin America, as constraining the broader understanding of multipolarity? And do you also see argument for multipolarity all the way down, if you will, not just at the scale of the global, but also at the scale of regional?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarang. Thank you for having me, my old friend Celso, and I hope a new friend, Minister Naledi Pando. You know, I want to begin by saying that, of course, what I agree completely with Celso and Minister Pando, that we are moving into a multipolar world. Let me emphasize that the United States can't even accept a bipolar world, right? And as we all know, with the return of China, the massive effort that the United States is making today has only one goal: to make sure that this remains a unipolar world with one power, and China can never overtake the United States. And by the way, I think it's a huge strategic mistake on the part of the United States to try and stop the return of China. It's a 4,000-year-old civilization with its own cycles of ups and downs. This civilization is bouncing back up. To try and push it back is a mission impossible. And that's what I try to argue in my book, Has China Won? So as friends of the United States, I must emphasize that Singapore, the ASEAN countries, we are all friends of the United States. We have clearly said that we want to be friends with the United States, we want to be friends with China, and we get all kinds of nods, winks, nudges. Hey, you should choose, you should choose, you should choose. And obviously, you know, most of the world doesn't want to choose. Most of the world wants to have good ties to the United States and wants to have good ties with China, and frankly, would appreciate a more thoughtful, long-term policy on the part of the United States for managing the return of China. And here, if I can interrupt this session with some good news, I was amazed how well the meeting between Xi and Biden so far has gone in Bali. They met for 3.5 hours. And, you know, frankly, it couldn't have gone better from what I've read. Just in terms of the capacity to talk to each other and explain to each other directly. For example, why is an issue like Taiwan so critical? Why is an issue like Taiwan can create a war? They've not been able to talk face to face. They've been able to talk to face. That's good news. So when you ask about Asia, the priority of Asia is very simple. We have many disagreements within Asia, but we agree that the 21st century will be the Asian century. It's a massive return of Asia, and we all want to focus on economic growth and development. And frankly, even if you have differences, for example, within United States allies like Japan and South Korea with China, serious differences, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand joined China and the ASEAN countries in launching the world's largest free trade agreement, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, in January this year. And that's serious business. And this means that the focus of Asians is on economic growth and development. And therefore, we call on the United States, stop this, unfortunately, unwise zero-sum game of trying to push back China, come back and participate in the growth.
Right. There is that message coming from Asia for sure. It's shown it with its economic performance, its growth. It's out there.